Hello everyone and welcome back to Plan First Live. This week I've got Kim Arahi with me. Kim's very experienced in the renovation business. This week we are going to be talking about designing for privacy without losing light. Now there's a number of ways of doing this. The obvious one would be with window placement, but then you would also look at things like landscape, courtyards, skylights, etc. In this image that we've got here, if you make use of those high level strip windows, it allows absolute privacy for the homeowner, but it still does allow natural light into the space.
And you definitely need to think about your skyline and not shutting that down when you are building or renovating. So, especially as things, you'll see in the image there, as interiors have developed and evolved, art has got bigger and bolder. Something just to remind yourself of if you are renovating is think about your lintel placements that might be there from current windows.
One of the things that I've found, and I see it more and more, is when people design, they don't always take into account where's their TV going to go.
100%. And of course, you haven't got the reflection to deal with, especially with our lovely big flat screens now.
You're always going to have that splashback in a kitchen because you need that height between your counter or your bench top and your cupboards. Normally, a kitchen is quite dark because you're going to maximize cupboard space, but this is a very clever way of doing it.
And the thing to remember here, on my renovation days, we did a heck of a lot of kitchens with these splashback windows, we call them. But what you can do, and what we did do on a number of our projects, is we actually did, because the fencing would be relatively close, we did some specialized lighting there. So it gives the kitchen really incredible depth, which is a good play on those little tight spaces.
If you've got a bedroom on ground level, which is facing some kind of street front or public space, you can actually, I'm not the biggest fan of frosting a window entirely. So you can do a half frost just for privacy at the bottom and then have it clear at the top.
So something I saw a few years ago when I was at the furniture fair in Milan, is that there is a glass that you can actually electrically control, and that's quite nice, so that you can have maybe 2 or 3 different levels of smoking, and then you can have a complete block out, so you can control it. And what it's doing is it's giving you, the person using the space, the benefits of looking out and over. So. It's a good solution, particularly in apartments and in city dwellings.
And then window orientation. I mean, it sounds like it's an obvious one, but try and position your windows if you are building new. Try and position your windows away from the neighbors. Try and use your garden as your maximum view. So
this is a really interesting one, and I see this a lot with our landscaping business. When you're looking at your landscaping, even if it's a renovation project or an existing home, don't always stand just in the garden while you're doing your renovation. Come inside and think about, okay, what am I going to be looking at?
Yes.
Or you want to maintain that privacy, so something that's not going to maybe lose its foliage in winter and things like that.
Not as easy with renovations, but there are other clever ways to do it. And then, of course, the courtyard and skylights. Skylights are a great way to bring light in as well. Kim, what is your feeling with skylights and heat coming into a building?
So all skylights now are double glazed. So you have got that added protection. So just make sure you're placing them correctly. But there is lots of options. You can now have them where they are rain censored, so they automatically close. There's a huge option for that, but it is a great way to get good natural light for the best part of the day.
Then, of course, you've got your external screening and landscaping.
And with pergolas, not a fixed hard roof, you are going to have the benefits of that skyline, particularly if you've got floor to ceiling sliders and then you've got the pergola beyond that.
Strategic landscape. Now, if you have a look at this image, you'll see that they've planted trees that just gives them that privacy from the apartments across the road. And then we've spoken about this briefly, is the external shutters, and that would be particularly good for renovations where you don't necessarily want to change your windows.
You could just slide them up if they were externally and then have the use so that your windows could be opened in. They are absolutely fantastic, because what happens, particularly in this double-story scenario, is that you can still see out, but no one can see in just by tilting it. So you're still getting that, you've got to remember, it's all about the person living in the home's experience. So these are great options. They're not expensive. They're easy to retrofit.
And then, of course, you've got the internal solutions, which would be your curtain.
So we did a few media rooms where you don't want light bleed. So we actually developed a system there where the side of the blind, roller blind, slid into a little V channel down the side and then dropped into a recess on the sill plate. If it is a media room or a gaming room or something like that, you don't want the light bleed. And of course, there's automation. So the minute the room gets a certain temperature, you can activate those blind shutters. And it's protecting your furniture and your flooring.
And then if we look at open plan, and if somebody does want to screen, try and just screen it all for privacy with openings so that the light can still go through.
From the exterior point of view, if you were standing outside in the garden here, you would be able to see the dining room table quite clearly, but the living room would have the privacy.
And then the obvious one is courtyards and atriums. I'm a big fan of courtyards because it does allow you to have masses of glass facing a private space.
Courtyards are a huge bonus. You've got protection from the wind, but you are going to have that very still, usable space, and your rooms can open up and have that protection, the security, the safety of children. So if you are in a suburban area, build right up to your boundaries, whatever that resource consent and building line would allow, but have that lovely space in the centre.
How can I maintain privacy in my home without blocking out all the natural light?
Skylights, and they can be retrofitted. And there's also a cheaper option, which is a solar tube.
What materials or finishes reflect light well while maintaining privacy? The minute I see the word reflect, I think of mirrors.
Yeah, so really the lighter the colour, the more reflection you're going to have.
How important is artificial lighting design when natural light must be reduced for privacy reasons?
And I'm very passionate about lighting, and there are so many ways you can do this, particularly with the development of LED lighting and control systems, day, night, light, dark, and color renderings and things like that. It is a huge topic, and I would absolutely suggest that if you're building new or you're doing a substantial renovation, you do get someone that knows lighting involved, because it can save you on power. It can save you on switching it on, switching it off, leaving it on, leaving it off, just by different control systems. Otherwise, everything that you're installing in terms of your finishes is just wasted on poor color rendering.
Now, how can I add privacy to an existing home without major renovation? If you're going to be planting or making use of a courtyard, build your walls high enough that the neighbors can't get at or can't see in.
What I would definitely do is planting is the most cost-effective way, without a doubt. Otherwise, there's shutters.
How do you approach privacy differently in urban versus rural settings?
I think because we live rurally, we understand that you have to really think about that prevailing wind. So that would be your first priority, is to cancel out that wind as best as you can. But in terms of privacy, look, in those big rural properties, it's really hard to have, because they're so big and they're so vast, to have these intimate areas all over the place. In urban areas, you have to be a little bit more intense on what you're doing. Something that we also have to be mindful of is that there are unitary rules, planning rules around the height of your fences. And of course, if you are building in a newer development, a newer subdivision, there will also be rules that will sit for the first 10 years on that build on how high your fences and your hedging can be.
All right, I think that's all we have time for today, because I would like to firstly thank you all for watching and for all the questions and contributions. Thank you, Kim, for joining us. Next week, our topic is designing for multi-generational living. Keep in mind also that if we didn't get to you today, you're welcome to contact us on our website, 0800 number, Facebook and Instagram.